We need like a hat to go off with it. Some of you are spending more time trying to figure out which AI model will make you more money than working on your business. And I get it. The grass is always greener on the other side. And we always want to play around with, which automation tool should I choose? And, which AI should I choose to go with my automation tool? And then what other secret thing this AI can do? Yeah, prompt that's going to fix all my business problems. Yeah, it's all fun, but it doesn't make money.
Yeah. And look, I've taught AI to, at this point, I don't know, probably over 15,000 business people. And the number one thing that holds people back isn't picking the wrong model. It's usually just never picking one at all, right? People research forever and they never actually use the AI.
And I know it feels productive. Like a lot of us, will read books, watch courses, do research, and what you find out is that your clients and customers don't give a shit. They don't care what model you use. They just want to get something delivered, get something useful, cheap, fast, whatever they want. That's it. That's all they care about.
Yeah. So to point out the really obvious, just pick a model and get to work, right? Now, you might be wondering, why should you listen to Tom and Aaron? Well, I've built and sold a 7-figure training company, run operations for a multi-million-dollar education business with over 40 employees, fixed operations for over 100 companies at this point, and I've taught AI to over 15,000 business people.
Yeah, I've marketed over 400 courses, fixed positioning issues for over 900 business owners, owned a record label, coffee shop, retail store, ran multiple agencies, almost burned some to the ground. Some did well. That's how you learn.
Yeah. So by the end of this episode, you're going to know how to stop this comparison rubbish, when the model choice actually matters to what you do with AI and when it's just noise.
Yeah. And to me, obsessing about it is just procrastination. And the way I think of it is all the time I see agency people arguing over which model they're using online, just like everyone else. But, this is for agency people. I'm like, what is the point? There's like no point to do this at all. Just get to work.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about how to turn your actual agency workflows into AI assisted production as well.
And then when to measure the models, when to upgrade. And usually it's after you've actually done something with them. So let's talk about why obsessing over which best AI model is not productive. And every agency owner I talk to, instead of saying I'm building this stuff with AI, it's usually I'm evaluating options, which means they're avoiding the decision and the work.
Yeah. So this is something I see as well with business people in general, is that the ones who struggle aren't really the ones who picked the wrong model, quote unquote. They're the ones who, spend 6 months researching and are still researching, trying to figure out what to do.
So if you go on YouTube, you will see AI influencers, making content which is meant to engage. Okay? So they want you to debate models. They want you to argue about them, comment in their feeds, maybe seek them out for opinion, pay for coaching. Okay? That's, it's usually like a persuasion tactic. They might say something like, business owner made $300K by switching to Claude.
We should do one of those, Tom.
We should do one of those. But none of this actually makes you money. It doesn't create assets, workflows, doesn't do client fulfillment. It's just busy nonsense.
Yeah. And look, from the ops side, you read more X threads about benchmarks than you read your own financials. And what does that say about how you run your business, right? You're in Slack channels arguing with your team about context windows and why it doesn't matter or why it does. Meanwhile, your team is like, yes, boss, and they're just still doing everything manually.
Yeah, again, clients don't care. And what I would add, when they see an agency talking about an AI, like we are AI powered, like that means, oh, they don't use people, so they must be cheap. And now I want the same results, twice as fast, half the price.
Half the price, yeah.
So here's what this looks like in practice. Agency owner wakes up and says, we're going to get serious about AI. They build a comparison spreadsheet, like GPT versus Claude versus Gemini versus, I don't know. Some of them will go on Open Router and look at like the 80 other models, so it becomes fun. And then it's like, pricing, features, context limits, benchmark scores, and, they reorganize the spreadsheet and then read articles, watch videos. And in the end, nothing gets assigned to any workers. No workflow is built. Weeks go by. spreadsheet looks great, but business does not improve.
Yeah, you're basically operationally optimizing a decision that doesn't need optimizing. And the bottleneck is in the model. The bottleneck is, I was going to say, lack of a deployed workflow, but really the bottleneck is you as the agency owner at this point.
Yeah, and usually the only urgency I see with service people is like, okay, my competition just did something with AI that's much better, faster, and cheaper. And I was like, okay, everyone get on board. And the whole team probably like, yeah, okay, boss. They still don't do anything because that's the team. And again, you're starting from zero because you have untrained employees, like you don't know what you're doing, and all you have is a spreadsheet with comparisons. So what's the alternative? Strategy equals deployment.
Yeah, selecting a model should really be a 5-minute decision, not a month-long committee with yourself. Look, GPT, Claude, Gemini, at this point, they're all good enough to do most agency work, right?
Yeah, what did we call some of these? Like functional alcoholics?
I like to think of AI as a idiot savant. It is absolutely brilliant and can do a ton of things if you just know how to talk to it.
So typically, like, if you hear one model, like making rounds around your niche, because every niche is a little different, right? You just pick that, you start working with it, you try your specific workflows with it. It will do stupid things. Yes, you will need to figure out how to make it do things better. But that's the business, right? Like our job is to solve problems. And I look at AI as an employee. So just figure out what type of employee this is. How do I need to train this type of employee? And if they're untrainable, well, then you fire them and switch models, I guess.
Yeah. So to continue that, using AI is like trialing an employee. You're going to learn more in 1 week of working with the AI and using the model that you've picked rather than 1 month of, reading about it, or in the case of an employee, reading their CV, right? You're going to get immediate feedback just simply by working with them and giving them stuff to do.
And I know there's nuance. Like, some people will say, I need a model that is best for my specific use case. And this is what I've been researching for multiple years.
Yeah. So if you look at the system side of it, look, the leverage is not in the model. It's how you structure your workflow around it, right? So let's get into that. Let's talk about turning your actual agency workflows into AI-assisted production, right? And real leverage doesn't come from finding the perfect model. It comes from actually writing down your existing workflows and figuring out where to slot AI in.
So you already know how your processes work, right? Like client intake, copy edits, reporting, whatever you do. So the question isn't which AI is best. It's like, which one can I just plug in now into my existing steps, right? And then you just follow up with, how do I make improvements? So eventually this is better than any A player on the market that does this thing. And it's much more affordable.
Yeah. So think of the model like a backend service. It just works in the background. And your prompts, your existing templates, your client-facing user interface, all of that should survive if you swap the model underneath. That's how you standardize a process with AI.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And from an ops standpoint, this is what actually makes training your team possible. When you pick one AI tool and plug your existing process and stick with it, you can write SOPs that you can then train your team on. Right. So you can integrate your existing tools, you can integrate your existing workflows, and you can actually measure what's working.
And your team isn't constantly relearning new types of outputs.
Yeah. So let me walk you through an example. Right. So take your top 3 client touch points. It's probably going to be, say, client intake, the first draft copy of your deliverable to them, and weekly reporting. And map out each one. Draw a flowchart. Right. So, for intake, your client fills out your onboarding form. The AI reads it. It asks clarifying questions you'd normally ask in a kickoff call, and then it generates a structured brief for your team that's actually usable. That's one workflow. Can you talk a bit about drafts and copy, Tom?
Yeah. So like AI will take market research and your instructions. It'll do the first draft copy. And AI will look at your past winning examples, look at the voice DNA, use all of your persuasion rules, edits. Your job is now to give it a final look over, make sure it followed the plan. If it did, you're fine. If it did not, you fix it, adjust the AI process. Either way, cuts your time in half.
Yeah. And take weekly reporting, the third one, right? So AI can pull data from your dashboards. It can write the narrative. It can highlight what actually matters. Your account manager can just review it and send it off. And what used to take 2 hours now takes 20 minutes.
And the model doesn't matter that much. Like once you have the process down, it's really easy to test other models. Hard work is always the process. Like you might have to, because like Gemini is a bit retarded, and you can't create an actual agent easily within it, right? With all the information you need. So you might have to, do it more manually, use an API, but it's still fairly easy once you figure it out.
Yeah. The point is, the model really does not matter, right? Like even Gemini, GPT, Claude, all the major commercial LMs can handle pretty much every agency workflow. The value is really actually going to be figuring out what your process is rather than trying to optimize the LLM model underneath. So that's where your real work is going to be in the workflow, right? So turn your proven process into actual prompts that your team can copy and paste into templates that they then go into, and then into maybe lightweight automations with, Zapier or N8N or something. And that's where the value actually is in using AI models.
Here's how I look at it. Let's say I pick a bad model, right? Now I worked twice as hard to make this process work with it. And then I tested with a new model that's much better. And now this thing writes better than I even could. So I'm like, cool. It was still better than listening to influencers talking about which AI model I should go with. Like now I have like an A+ employee on my team.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And just remember to document all of it as well so that your team can run it without you.
And that's leverage, which brings us to the big question: when does model choice actually start to matter?
Wait for the plane to land. It matters only after you're already making money with what you've built.
Quick check. Finding this useful? We drop new episodes every week on AI, building apps as a non-dev, and the exit-only approach. Subscribe, hit the bell, and drop a comment. Which workflow are you automating first? Now back to the episode.
So here's the thing about when to measure and when to upgrade. So the AI model choice only really matters after you're already tracking return on investment from your AI assisted delivery, not before.
You can't optimize what you haven't measured, and you can't measure what you haven't shipped. So you also don't know where a model is failing until you spend enough time with it.
So here's what you should actually track: the time saved per workflow, the quality of the deliverable compared to a manual process, any client feedback, any revenue impact, and that tells you when you may need to fidget a bit with your model.
Yeah, so if you have a workflow, let's say it's for copy, and now it's saving you 20 hours a week, it's working. And that's when you start asking, well, what's the next bottleneck? Like which step from the process, like our copy process is 17 different steps and agents, right? So which of these could benefit from a better model, maybe more automation, different tooling, but you only know this when you've done it first.
So to expand on this a bit, you ship your first workflow, right? Let's say it's your client intake process that we talked about, and you track it for 2 weeks. And what kind of things should you look for, Tom?
Well, how long does it take? How often does the AI miss something that the team has to fix or you got to go over? Are clients happy with the output? And then you just find the weak points. Maybe the AI is great at structured questions, but weak at open-ended strategy. Or maybe it nails the first draft, but then needs multiple rounds of edits.
Yeah. So that data is going to tell you where to invest your time and money. And that's a feedback loop, right? So ship it first, measure it, find the bottleneck, and optimize the specific step that's problematic. And, if that happens to be you need to upgrade the model, then upgrade it for that specific step. Maybe it's actually not upgrading the model. Maybe it's changing something else in your process or changing the team member who deals with it. Or maybe it's just simply refining the prompt for the model.
But you're no longer guessing or assuming. So it's easy to spot the mistakes now. Benchmarks and research will not save you from any of this, only the work. So the sequence is build, measure, then optimize, not the other way around. If you did pick the wrong model, what do?
Well, you just swap it out, right? If you built your workflow correctly, then the model is just the engine, and that's pretty much interchangeable. You don't need to rebuild the entire car. Your SOPs, your prompts, your templates, all that can stay. And the bottom line is that simply doing something is better than procrastinating about model selection. All right, let's wrap this up, Tom.
Okay, here's all you need to remember. Buyers don't care what model you used. They only see that you shipped something and ask, is this useful for me? The only companies interested in what model is best are the ones creating models or making money talking about them. Sideline hustlers. So when you're scared to do business, you spend your attention on this nonsense.
Yeah, so stop procrastinating over which AI model to use, and just use it to make your work better and faster. That's it. Don't use the time spent thinking as a replacement for doing actual work. Just use it as a tool to deliver better outcomes for clients. So if that resonated, we cover AI, learning to code as smart developers, and building for exits every week. Hit subscribe. We'll be documenting our own journey about building AI-powered businesses. You're going to get to see what works and what doesn't. You're going to see the systems, the failures, the wins, exit only, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.